Hello and welcome to a solo episode of the Repurpose Your Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Aurora Meneghello, and this is a podcast about everything related to being happy at work, doing something you like, whether you're a career changer looking for something new, you're a business owner, imagining how to grow the organization, or you are somebody in a career you love as an employee, as a leader, and you're here for more inspiration on your path. Okay, so I really try to talk about a variety of topics, and today I have to say, oh, I had so many ideas. So, the one thing that came to mind that I really appreciate about working for myself and having worked for myself for a long time, but also having had the experience of working as an employee, is the challenges and opportunities that we get as self employed people, and how the two are so often related. Okay, so first of all, let me say I don't think it's better or worse to work for yourself. I think it's different than working as an employee. And depending on your personality, where you're at in your life, what you want to provide, all sorts of things, it might be a good idea or a bad idea. So today's episode is not about convincing you to work for yourself, okay? It's an episode about some things that I've seen that I feel like I didn't quite understand until I've had my experiences and also worked with so many people having their own experiences being self-employed, going in and out, right? Like, so some of the people I work with, they went from never have been self-employed to starting on their journey. But I've also worked with people that were self-employed and decided to work for somebody else, people who pivoted, people who hired me to grow to the next level of their business, all sorts, right? And I think this aspect of the how much you can grow exactly because of the challenges you face, I think it's an underappreciated aspect of working for yourself. All right, let me see what else I want to say before I start, delving into this subject matter. I think I would say I would invite you next to really listen to this episode with an open mind and a relaxed mind. Nothing of what I'm gonna share is a prescription. Nothing is a technique or something you have to do, or even something for you to agree or disagree. Take everything I say, take it as an opportunity for insights, as an opportunity to maybe notice something for yourself, or just to listen to something, I don't know, hopefully not boring. All right, shall we dive in? Here we go. So the biggest thing that, as I mentioned, for me is really unappreciated about working for yourself is that you will bump into a lot of challenges. And some of these challenges are unique to the working for yourself type of career. But if you can learn from those challenges, and this is independent of your business succeeding, by the way, some of these challenges I am going to talk about, you might learn even if your business doesn't succeed, unfortunately. What you can learn from these challenges will be very, very rewarding, has the opportunity to be very rewarding, and to bring you other opportunities, whether it's through your business growth or, if you so choose, if you go back to being an employee. So here are a few, all right, that come to mind. One is discipline. I know it's kind of weird to start with discipline, but I really have to say, most of us are so used to having outside pressure to what we have to do. Like we have a boss that tells us, when we work for somebody else, or we're used to school where the teacher, tells us, that it might take a while, it might be a challenge for some of us to actually say, wow, I can do whatever I want, right? And especially at the beginning of your business, maybe you don't have that many clients, you might have more time that you know what to do with, and you're the boss, right? Either you have the discipline to make it happen, or nobody's gonna tell you what to do or when to work and so forth, right? So the discipline piece, I think, can be underappreciated or unappreciated. But if you can learn how to find in yourself the will, the capacity, the ability to create new habits, the discernment of what to work on, when to work on, the ability also to, you know, balance work with rest, like all of this self-discipline, I think that can really give you such an advantage, not just in your own business, but if you want to go back to being an employee, that's a huge advantage, because now you inherently understand a whole lot of things that will help you manage people if you then get to manage people. But even if you don't get to manage people, to be a high performer. Okay, I think often when you go from self-employed to employee, um, you step in back or for the first time into the world of employment as a high performer. So discipline is a big deal. Self-discipline is a really big deal, in my opinion. Another one, all right, let me think. Another one is that when you are self-employed, you really come face to face with all your human frailties. So let's put it that way. Okay. So here's some very common ones. One is choice. Okay. Choice of how much risk to take on. So some of us don't have any resources, don't have any support, don't have money, right? And we choose to take a risk and try to create something out of almost literally nothing, right? Some of us have resources or have already a job or have some support, and we choose, okay, how much of that do I want to risk, right? Some of us don't have the choice. We find thrown into, you know, some I don't know, unexpected change. But again, we need to choose how to react to that, right? So there's a huge element of choice, and choice, especially when it comes to how much risk to take on, when it comes to working for yourself. Okay, that, even though we can say like, yes, but especially in the United States, all employment is a will, they can let you go at any time, you don't think it's that risky, but it's less secure than you think. All that stuff is true, but it's a little different. Okay, and I think there are two ways that people go about self-employment when it comes to choice and risk. One is that they think that the only way to handle it is by creating the right circumstances or looking for the right circumstances outside. And if that works for you, that's good. And sometimes that's necessary or the best option. But the real big growth is when we see something about our own thinking and our own fears and our own courage and our own flexibility and all sorts of things that come up when we are called or faced with having to choose in life. So to me, this power of making choices, of choosing risk, can be a really empowering, a really transformational moment for a lot of self-employed, especially newly self-employed people. Okay, so self-discipline, making choices, especially when it comes to how much risk to take. The other thing that we often bumped into when it comes to, again, human frailties, our own inner things, is we come face to face with our self-expression, okay, our voice. Like, can I ask for what I need? Can I share what I can do, right? Or do I always feel like that I can't, that I don't deserve, that um, nobody will want to hear from me, like all these kind of things that we pick up in our upbringing, in our past experiences. But when you're working for yourself, if you don't say it, if you don't write it, if you don't speak it, right, how is anybody going to find you? Or how is anybody going to know what you can offer, what you can do for them? So self-expression, finding your voice, again, to me, that it's fundamental to your business. It will help your business a lot. But even if it turns out your business wasn't a good fit, or you didn't really like it, or for that whatever reason you decide to go back and be an employee, the power you gain, the transformation that comes from discovering you do have a voice, you can use your voice, and how that shows up in real life, that stays with you. That really stays with you. And it can be amazing, right? The other thing that most self-employed people bump into is their relation to giving and receiving. So if you have any hangups on asking for money, being paid, being financially successful, um, you know, recognizing the value of what you bring to the table, any of that stuff around giving and receiving, self-worth, any of that will come up, and you'll have to confront every bit of it. Okay. And sometimes you keep confronting it for a long time, and your business grows as you grow, as you deepen that work, right? Now I want to put an asterisk here, a note, okay, that it is not just magical thinking. So I really dislike all the business talk that's like, well, if you just imagine it, if you just have the vision, it will just come. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, so you having a healthier understanding and relationship to giving and receiving is, again, fundamental for the success of your business. But it is not a magical I don't know, trick that will make you rich or something. Okay. So the way it works is that if you keep feeling, and you keep acting, and you keep doing business based on beliefs of you're not good enough, and nobody will buy your stuff, and all these kind of things, yeah, your business will probably not make it. Okay, you need to show up from a place of genuinely believing in what you're offering and selling, and putting yourself out there. But having a healthy relationship to giving and receiving is not a magical ingredient that will transform any business in a successful business. So very important to understand this. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, okay, well, this all sounds great, but everything you said I could get as an employee, I can develop speaking up as an employee, and I could develop my negotiating skills when it comes to salary, or other things like that related to giving and receiving as an employee. So you're not wrong in that, but there are two buts here, okay? One is that you could, however, avoid a lot of this growth. Okay, there are many employee situations where you never really have to confront these things. And it might be fine. It's totally fine, by the way. So this, again, a reminder, this podcast episode is not about you should work for yourself or working for yourself is better. Absolutely not. It depends on a lot of things, okay? But these things that I'm talking about as an employee, you might not have to ever confront, okay? If you choose to confront them, it's a different experience. It's just a different experience. Again, it's not better or worse, it's simply different. And I think anybody who went from employee to self-employed and vice versa will tell you that there is something when you gotta make the money and you're the boss, you're the person in charge, where those conversations about self-expression and giving and receiving have a very different flavor than if you're working for somebody else. All right, let me get to another something else that is, I think, important to mention, and that is the way we think about communities, our community, and the people we do business with. Okay, in particular, as a self-employed individual, there is a very different relationship to clients that you have as an employee to your boss. Now, a lot of that is in our mind. So you can adopt a more entrepreneurial spirit in a company. And that's not the topic for today's conversation. So leave me a comment if you'd like me to talk more about that. So I'm not going to talk about that, okay? But as a self-employed individual, I really noticed that there's a different way we go about building community and relating to the people who pay us. Okay. And so here I'm going to generalize, but see if this is true for you if you're listening to this and you do work for yourself, or if you've had both experiences. So unless you start your business with partners and an investment and a team, chances are, if you're listening to this, that you study by yourself, okay? And so you will notice when you start for yourself that it's a very different game than to be part of a team, of an organization that already works. And for some people, working for themselves can provide a lot of reliefs, especially at the beginning if their personality is more introverted and they like it. But even for those people, because I have some clients like this, it comes to a point where, okay, I like to have a buddy and a little community. Okay. That community is much more intentional than the community you build at work being an employee. What do I mean? And again, it's not right or wrong, because there are great learnings, okay, as an employee, and this is just not the topic of this podcast. But if I join a company as an employee, I don't get a say of everybody I work with. Okay, so part of the growth is that I need to become much more flexible and adaptable and so forth. Okay, as a self-employed person, I have to really be intentional and form relationships and community. And so what I have noticed is that there too, there's a huge amount of challenge, and if you can go through it, of rewards. Okay, so what would these challenges be? Well, one is that you have to put yourself out there. Okay, they're not gonna come knock at your door, be like, hey, you're self-employed, come join us. You are gonna have to learn to, oh no, the dreadful networking, right? Get out there, meet people. But also, there's the opportunity to meet and form community with like-minded people, meaning people that are as ethical as you when it comes to work, or that are as passionate as you, or there's good synergy when doing things together, right? So you get, again, choice, right? The whole topic of choice. But the community that you form has a different feeling. because you intentionally had to build it. Okay, and again, I know some of you are saying, yeah, but as an employee too, you intentionally can network, and yes, but again, it's very different when you're the boss and there's no there's really no container. You gotta build a whole ship. you know the other part of building the community, as a self-employed individual, is it's also the kind of community you want to build, or the kind of experience you want to build for your clients. So see if you can relate to this. I think especially when we're inexperienced as employees, we can very easily be sucked in a feeling of power over, or being overpowered. Like, oh no, now the boss is paying for my entire salary, all my money, and there's a feeling. And again, this is from a very inexperienced, or maybe a certain lack of understanding, but I think it's very common then to feel like I have to do what the boss says, or they told me to do this. And it can be a lot of this power dynamic where you might feel disempowered, right? Well, you just can't do that crap as a business owner. Like, you're it. You're it. And you can't like go around blaming clients for making you do anything. You got to take complete responsibility for what's going on. How you negotiate things, how you explain things, what you promise, what you set up for yourself. There's all sorts of the relationship with clients is one of equals, right? And if you can learn how to navigate that, again, it might be a huge breakthrough for some of us who might be stuck in that power dynamic, and not taking full responsibility. All right, so I covered a bunch of things. And I wasn't going by a list, so I don't know if I can remember all the things I said. But things like discipline, choice, our relationship to giving and receiving, finding our own voice, creating community, learning to be responsible. These are all invaluable skills to learn. And in my mind, there's really two parts of having a business. One is the game of, yes, the business needs to work financially for your life, all that, right? So absolutely. But when you're playing that game, whether you win or lose at that game, there's this other game of growth, of inner transformation, of learning new skills, of coming up against things that in the past would have stopped you, but you now learn to go through. And that, you can win at that regardless of this. It will help. It will help a lot. But you might find that what you gain from that journey, even if the business doesn't work, you gain a lot, and it opens up opportunities and possibilities. So to me, a really big part of working for yourself is knowing that there is an amazing growth opportunity on different levels, right? On different levels. And yeah, appreciate it. My invitation is really to appreciate it. All right, I'm curious what comes up for you if you're listening to this, and especially I'm curious if you've done both, and how this episode resonates with you. Okay, so send me an email, get in touch with me. You can find me at repurposeyourpurpose.com, or leave a comment on YouTube or anywhere I posted this video or this podcast if you're just listening to it. And let me know, because I'm really curious about what transformed for you. What did you learn? How did you grow as somebody who works for themselves. All right, this is Aurora Meneghello, and it's the Repurpose Your Purpose podcast. I will see you in a few weeks.